What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to tie a crawfish pattern using the fish skull sculpin helmets. This is the only second one I've tied, so I'm still kind of figuring out, but it's a fun pattern for bass or trout. Maybe you want to slow down, fish the bottom, or you're in an area with a lot of crawfish or mud bugs or whatever you want to call them. The hook I'm using is a size 2. I'm tying these bigger for bass, pond fishing. So with that, I think I got everything out in front of me, and we'll jump into it. This is a trickier pattern for me to tie. Just trying to get everything lined up, but I'm going to do my best. The thread I'm using is Vivus 140 and olive. Just going to get that started. The first one I tied, I messed up. I tied it completely backwards. I started in the front and worked forward. I don't recommend that. That was really difficult. What I'm going to do is work my thread all the way back. And I kind of have a mental picture of where the helmet is going to stop. And right there is where I want to tie in my antenna. So right here, just at the start of the bend of the hook, I'm using centipede legs. I believe this is olive black bar maybe. So I want to tie this in right on the side, but kind of hanging off more towards the top of the hook. And I'm going to wrap this down. This is going to do a few things. It's going to secure it, but it's also going to give me a good thread bump to keep the sculpin helmet from moving. So get that tied in on that side. And then we'll tie this one in on this side. Same thing. I'm just going to work it down some. Make sure everything looks good, lined up, but really build up the thread right here. So when you put that helmet on, you want it to stop. And that was a problem I had with the first one I tied. I didn't do enough of a thread bump, so the helmet wanted to move on me. And it makes it kind of hard to get the crawfish body on and secured when everything's moving around. I'm going to go ahead and trim out the waist. Not going to trim the antenna just yet. But I am going to work my thread back down, kind of covering up anything. And right here, I'm going to do just a quick whip finish. Just to hold the thread. get my sculpin helmet on. These are small size, and for me they can be anybody who doesn't have a whole lot of hand function, has no hand function, limited hand function. It can be kind of tricky to do. Just grab it the best you can and get it up on there. I'm going to try to wedge it up on there as best as I can. How about right there? I could have made the bump go up a little further, but I think this will be alright. You can take your crawfish body, and these are also by Fish Skull. These are the craw bodies and olive. I just want to get that in there and lay it so you can see. Yeah, I might have messed up on this one. Made it where the body's going to be a little long, unless I can wedge that up in there more. Alright, with the power of editing, you won't have to see the mistake I made. When you're doing in your antenna, do them up further than you think you're going to need. That was the mistake I made. So when I put the crawl body on there, the length wasn't matching up. It didn't look right. I didn't like it, so I went through and I had to redo the antenna completely. But make sure, you can see now the helmet is kind of sitting at an angle. That's what you want, because when you put that body on, then you can move it and manipulate it to get it to where you want it to sit. Because if you're not happy with it on the vise, then you probably will never fish it. So when you're doing that, move the antenna up some and you should be good. Just check it as you go. That was something I should have done. I should have checked it. But I got the body on, or I got the head, I got the antenna fixed. I'm going to check it with my body, just for lengthwise. So from in the back here, I'm going to go ahead and make a dubbing loop. And I want a decent sized dubbing loop here. And like I said, this is the second time I've tied this pattern, so I'm learning as I go. So I'm going to take that right on back, leaving a gap there between where the head is, because the head is going to have to come down for you to be able to get the body on correctly. And I'm going to move my thread down to the eye of the hook, and I'm going to throw a couple half hitches. Just like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the dubbing loop, and I got this kraken dubbing and olive. Actually, before I do that, get my twister here. To hold my loop. And I'm gonna get some dubbing wax, because I know if I don't, then I won't be able to get it to stick. Oh, almost dropped it. Actually, do this. Get some wax on there. And I'm going to try to hold the loop open and take little pinches and get it up in there. It's just going to be easier said than done. This kraken dubbing's cool. It's got a lot of little legs in it, which is why I want to use it instead of like a hackle. So I think this will look better, be a little neater. Just do your best and get this dubbing in here. It can be quite tricky. Especially now that I get my finger out. Once you get it on there, then you can adjust the length. But I think that looks pretty good. For this, I gotta back the table up some. And I'm just gonna start spinning it up. So bear with me for just a minute while I do this. As you spin it, take your bodkin, very lightly just pick it out so you don't pull everything out of your dubbing loop. And we won't be using that again because I dropped it. If you have a comb nearby, now you can take the comb and just go through and pick this out. Bodkin would be better, but I dropped mine. Can also use the tip of your scissors to get up in there. Now this kraken dubbing can be kind of tricky to use because of the legs. Other people, I'm sure, can do a better dubbing loop than me where they don't have such a problem with it. With me though, the legs get tangled, and not that I can't use it, it just makes it a little more frustrating. And it does look good. I do like it. And this is from not MFC, Fly Tire Dungeon. So I'm just trying to pick out most of these rubber legs, because I want those to be the legs of the crawfish in the front. So just going through, take your time, go through, pick everything out. And I think that'll be good. Hopefully. I'm gonna grab that with my hackle pliers, slide everything back. Try to get that sculpin helmet out of the way. And your legs, or your antenna. So probably I'm not going to use this whole dubbing loop, but I do want to get a couple good wraps on here. I think about right there. Go back and tie off your loop. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. Just with the rubber legs being all tangled and everything. But you don't know unless you try, so that's what we're doing. We're just trying. Get that tied off really good. And then we'll snip this out. Careful not to cut your thread here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap back over that a few more times, just to make sure it's locked down really good. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to pick this out really good. Once I have it picked out, then I'm going to take it and just fold it all down. And then I'm going to leave it right there so I know how much I have to cut off of it. I'm going to come in the back here and clean some of this up. Like I said, really neat stuff to work with, but kind of tricky. It's just with them rubber legs going everywhere. Now take your thread and clean up the area. Don't worry about thread building up here. So we got one more material we're going to tie in. And with your thread you can work on the taper. And this is ultra chenille and white. Cream would be another good one to use. If you look at the underbody of a crawfish, it's always lighter. So get that tied on. And again, you can kind of use that just to do the taper. So it's going to be fat and then go skinny. Nip out the rest. Finish tying that in. And then we'll go back down and do a couple half hitches. And I'm just going to leave my thread hanging. Grab my hackle pliers again. And then start wrapping. I wish the quality was a little better for you guys. I'm really trying to upgrade everything and get a better setup. It's just going to take me a little while. Now at the eye of the hook, can take and tie off our ultra chenille. I like to do 3 and then 3 wraps and then take this, pull it forward and get a couple wraps in there just so it doesn't slip. And we can cut this out. And again, we'll clean this up a little bit. Alright. Clean this up so it doesn't block the eye of the hook. And now you can take your crawl body. And before I do that, I'm just gonna, this is bugging me, so I'm gonna pick it out one more time. Dubbing brush would probably work really good there, but I don't have one. Try to pull it down and forward. That'll help keep it out of your way. And we'll take our crawl body. And this is where it's going to get kind of tricky. So I'm going to take it and set it on here. And just get a couple wraps there just to hold it. Make sure it's straight. Pull up the tail. Make sure that you can tie your line through it. As I can see there it slipped, so I'm gonna undo it. Come up a little bit. and pull it up, and it slipped forward again, so make sure everything is straight. There, I like that a lot better. So make sure it's straight on there. At this point, if you wanted to, you could tie it off and then restart it. I'm not. I'm just going to pull this back. And I'm going to make a crisscross right in the front. Hold it in place. And tie it down in the same spot like that. And then once more, jump your thread forward. And again, while you're doing this, make sure everything stays straight. So if not, it'll bug you later. I think that looks good. And that looks pretty good, as you can see. It's getting there. So at this point, we'll go ahead and tie off. An extra large whip finish makes this pretty nice. I'm only going to do a couple half hitch because I'll go back over with resin. Alright, and now for the part that I don't like the most, I'm going to take my forceps and try to pull this back, pull the head forward as far as you can. And that's why it's important to get your antenna right, because if not, it's going to make this part a nightmare. And as it's looking, I might have to cut some off the head of this just to get it down in there. Be a lot easier with the bodkin, but don't drop yours on the floor if you can't reach stuff on the floor, like me. Alright, so once you get it started in there, then just kind of shove it down. Try to get it up in there the best you can. I'm going to try to get these on my fingers and try to use both hands here. And all I'm doing is just jamming that body up in under the head. Just like that. That doesn't look too bad. Now at this point, you can try to get super glue up under the head or resin or whatever you want. I'm not going to make y'all watch that just because it's going to take me another while. But your legs. Find my longer scissors. Kind of judge how long you want it. I'm thinking about right there. I don't think that looks bad at all. I will probably go through and pick that out one more time. These fish skulls, they do come with eyes. Again, I'm not going to make y'all watch that because this video is already pretty long. So at this point, cement the head down with super glue or resin. Do your thread wraps and you're ready to fish. Not bad looking. Definitely need some practice on it, on this pattern to perfect it. But you see the white belly, the little legs. This wasn't too bad. Definitely a challenge. If you like to challenge yourself, do patterns like this, because it is definitely a challenge. Especially when you can't hold stuff. Don't forget to trim your antenna. I trim mine. I usually use the arm of my vise as a gauge. Trim them however long you want. That's kind of a identifying mark of a crawfish, is really long antenna. But trout, bass, whatever is going to eat a crawfish in fresh water. And you can tie these in a wide range of colors. But yeah, this was a tricky pattern. And I will fish it. I will try it for bass. And I like challenging myself, especially to see what I can do, being I can't really hold on to stuff. I'm sorry for the quality of the videos. I know it's hard to watch when you can't really see what's going on. I'll list all the ingredients in the description. If y'all like this, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I do tie-in videos. I'm going to do hunting videos here in the next month. And we do fishing videos when I can. So yeah, if y'all like this, please consider subscribing. Give it a thumbs up. And until the next one, I will see y'all later.